Hello, welcome to the webinar, Letting Go, Preparing Young Adults for Future Success with Able, South Carolina. We have two offices, one located in Columbia at 720 Grayson Road, Suite 106, Columbia, South Carolina 29210. And we have one office located in the upstate in Greenville at 135 Edinburgh Court, Suite 101, Greenville, South Carolina 29607. We are so excited to have you participate in this webinar today. Hello, I am Dory Tempio. I'm the Director of Community Outreach and Consumer Rights at Able, South Carolina. I'm also happy to say that I'm a proud individual with a disability as well. And like most children with disabilities, here's me when I was a child, and I grew up to become an adult with a disability. And all of us individuals, whether you're parents or not, or you're another family member or loved one supporting an individual with a disability, know that it's important to promote independence, promote decision-making, promote choice-making, and to facilitate empowerment of all young adults. Some of the things that the webinar is going to discuss and share today are fostering a culture of high expectation, identifying the impact of expectation and belief, and how the expectations that we have and the beliefs we have about young adults with disabilities impact the way they decide to be independent, the way they decide to make decisions for themselves, the way they decide to make choices. We're also going to talk about some methods that you can use with individuals and young adults with disabilities to help them set realistic, achievable goals. I'll be sharing some techniques to empower your young adults with disabilities, and also sharing some methods for facilitating independence. We all need to feel like we're contributing members of society. And in order to do that, we need to take ownership of the things that we do in our lives. And our family members and loved ones can help us with that process. And when we do that, we're all successful and can find our own way to do the things that we need to do in our everyday lives. How many of you can remember being a young adult? What were some of the things that you dreamed about and goals that you wanted for yourself? When I was a young adult with a disability, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I knew I wanted to have relationships in my life, friendships, boyfriends, getting married one day. I knew that I wanted to have a successful career. I wanted to be able to live on my own and be able to accomplish the same tasks that everyone else does in their lives. I also wanted to make a difference and be able to give back to the community in whatever way that I felt would make the most difference. All of us have dreams. All of us want to follow them. So how can we, knowing that we had dreams for ourselves, help our young adults with disabilities to find their dreams, follow them, and achieve the goals they have for themselves? Often we all wonder, how can we empower our young adults for independence? It isn't an easy process, but it's one all of us can accomplish. It means stepping back, letting go, and letting individuals make mistakes. If no one ever made a mistake, they wouldn't learn to problem solve, they wouldn't learn to cope, they wouldn't learn to challenge themselves in how to try again and again until they find the right solution or the right strategy that works best for them. Before we can even get started empowering young adults, we have to think about, what are our thoughts about disability? What are our thoughts about our young adult and their capabilities? I have this quote that is one that stands out to me from Margaret Wheatley. And Margaret Wheatley said, "I can only change how I act if I stay aware of my beliefs and assumptions." And sometimes, whether we intentionally mean to or not, we set expectations for individuals that are not always as high as they could be. And we want to work to set expectations that young adults can challenge themselves, fulfill their needs and their wants and their dreams, and work hard to reach. I often tell individuals, and when I work with young adults with disabilities, the way we communicate our expectations impacts the way an individual with a disability will decide whether or not they can set goals for themselves, make choices for themselves, and decision make regarding future life plans. So one of the things that you really want to work hard at is the interactions between you, the young adult in your life, and the support system that they have to help them achieve their goals and dreams. It's really important to develop a strong support system at an early age. That can entail family, it can entail friends, it can entail support organizations such as ABLE South Carolina, the ARC of South Carolina. It could entail vocational rehabilitation, and other organizations that are involved in your young adult's life. It could also involve their doctors and nurses, their schools, their teachers, their friends, any community organizations that they're involved in, like the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts, or recreational activities like sports, other hobbies like a book club, anything in your young adult's life that is going to help them to feel positive, going to help them reach their goals, and going to help them feel confident in themselves. The second part of expressing high and low expectations are, how often are we asking our young adults questions about their future? Are we asking them different types of questions? Some that might be closed questioning, which are like yes and no answers. Do you want to have a job one day? Do you want to have relationships? Do you want to volunteer in the community? Yes or no? And then looking at open-ended questions. What types of volunteer activities would you like to participate in? Where would you like to go to school? What activities would you like to be involved in the community? What would you like to wear to school today? Anything that involves them having to give a more detailed answer that allows you some insight into their thinking. We also have to look at the quality of feedback and input we give to our young adults. Are we telling them honest, truth answers that can help them to evaluate their successes and make changes where needed? We want to always praise young adults, but we also have to look at where they need to build their strengths and make improvements. So it's really important, if they need to improve the way they communicate with others, the way they express themselves, the way they advocate for their needs and wants, to provide that insight. Examples could include, you did a great job of communicating your ideas for what you want for the future, but you may want to add more detail to what you want in your career. You may want to think about where you would like to go to school. You may want to give us some more input on the kinds of activity you'd like to participate in the community. And that can really help young adults to grow, not only in their communication style, but their self-advocacy and being able to speak up for what they want and need in the community. As much as all of us want to be able to help an individual, the reality is they are going to be alone for at least 5 minutes of one time or another in their life. And they're going to need to be able to communicate their ideas, their needs, and what will help them best. Some other things to really think about when we're conveying our high expectations to individuals with disabilities is to really think about, are we giving the right facial gestures? Are we giving the right body language? Are we giving the right cueing to help an individual understand that they can think through different situations, think through different concerns, and be able to challenge them and challenge their ideas? Because there are some people who may not believe an individual can accomplish a goal. And in reality, the individual can accomplish that goal. It might mean they need different reasonable accommodations or supports to do so. And the individual may need to be able to share those ideas with community service providers, schools, or other support system entities. In thinking about expectations, goal setting, and dreams, it's always important to think about what are our feelings related to those expectations. If our young adult exceeds or meets their goals, are we happy about that? When we are happy about that, how are we reacting and communicating to that young adult our feelings, our beliefs, and our expectations? If they don't meet or exceed our goals, are we attributing that to disability? Or are we taking the time to think that maybe the young adult just doesn't have the experience yet and they have to develop those skills? Because if we constantly are expressing to an individual, whether it's through our body language, our facial gestures, or our verbal language, that we don't think they're able or capable, young adults will meet us at where we think they're capable of. And it's important to challenge young adults to see that they can meet expectations. They can exceed goals. They may just not have found the right techniques, strategies, or reasonable accommodations or supports to do that yet. Another really important part of helping young adults with disabilities to be proactive in their everyday lives with choice making, decision making, and facilitating independence is to look at, are we empowering them or are we enabling them? Enabling means putting yourself in between life and the consequences for the decisions or choices that they make. All of us make mistakes. Individuals with disabilities have the right to make those mistakes too. Disability doesn't keep us from making mistakes, and not all mistakes are related to our disabilities. Sometimes we just make the same typical mistakes that everybody else does because of lack of experience, or sometimes those of us with disabilities have often been in isolated or segregated settings like self-contained classrooms or activities, so we haven't gotten the same social levels of experience yet. So sometimes it's important to empower even when we make mistakes. So we want to encourage young adults with disabilities to try new strategies, make new decisions, try different choices. And if they make a mistake, it's okay. I will tell you personally, I made a lot of mistakes to get where I am today. And mistakes helped me to grow. And my parents let me make those mistakes. My family let me make those mistakes. The people in my support system let me make those mistakes. And I learned from that. I learned how to goal set. I learned how to problem solve. I learned how to cope. I learned how to decision make. And I learned that it was okay. I'm not in competition with anyone else, nor is your young adult. We all have to find our own way. And what works for me may not work for someone else. What works for you may not always work for someone else. It's important to find the best way, the best path, and the best choices for each of us as individuals. So in the end, you want to value their right to choose. They may not always make the choice or decision that you would make for them, and that's okay. How many of us always made the same choices that our parents wanted us to make? It's okay. We learn, we grow, and we become closer to our families when we're allowed to choose for ourselves and make mistakes. So how can you empower your young adult? It's really easy. Number one, if this is new to you and your family or you and the individual, you want to start out by letting them know, we're going to try something new. We're going to start empowering you to have some more independence in your life. That is a wonderful thing. Everybody needs that. It helps us all to feel confident, be able to have good self-esteem, good self-worth, and in the end, we're all able to make decisions for ourselves which allow us to grow as human beings. Number one, when I say be professional, I mean, remember, even though it's your young adult, they're going to want to try things on their own. Sometimes, just as you would a young adult without a disability, we have to step back. We have to let the young adult take ownership for their choices, their decisions, and the goals they want for themselves. Even if we don't always agree with them, or even if we're not sure how that's going to look, there are people in the community like Able South Carolina and other community organizations that are here for you and your family, and we are more than happy to help. So don't hesitate to reach out. Let them be an active participant in their life and their decision making, whether it's deciding what to eat in the morning for breakfast, choosing what to wear, deciding what goals they have for themselves on their IEP, and participating and letting you and their teachers and other educators know what it is they want and need. And when you have community meetings or healthcare meetings with doctors and other professionals, letting them take part in communicating in what's going on in their life. It's also really important that they understand the reasonable accommodations they need in their life. And if you're not familiar with that word, reasonable accommodations means any support an individual with a disability uses to be successful. That can include a note taker. It could include technology that they use. It could include an iPad. It could include apps. It could include communication cards with directions for how to explain things to them. It could include different color coding and scheduling techniques. Whatever supports or accommodations are going to work best for your young adult, it's important for them to understand, because when they get to be an adult like myself, they're going to have to be able to express what they need and how an individual can provide those supports to them so that they can be successful. The second step in empowering yourself to empower your young adult, I want to tell y'all, don't forget, it's fun. It doesn't have to be a harsh task that you feel you're making your young adult do. It can be fun. You can pick fun activities like planning a vacation, deciding where to go on a weekend activity, deciding what TV show or movie your family wants to watch that night. It's really about empowering that individual, but also empowering yourself to know it's okay to let go. It's okay to give a little bit of freedom and allow that person to grow as an individual. Number one, you want to establish goals that you and the individual feel you can collaborate and be allies and work together. You want to practice those goals and the steps that go into creating goals. And always remember, everybody has different learning styles. It isn't always about disability. Sometimes the way one person learns is very different than how another individual learns. Some of us are visual learners. Some of us are auditory learners. Some of us are very tactile kinesthetic, which means we like to be hands-on in an activity. The other thing, as you're practicing and you're looking at the different learning styles that each of you has, don't be afraid to reach out to community organizations or other experts that can help you to learn those things that you need. Sometimes when a family member or someone close to us tries to teach us something, it has nothing to do with that the individual isn't capable or that the family member isn't able to do it. Sometimes it's just because you're so close to that person that it's better that an outside source can help you. I don't know about all of you, but when I was 15 years old, as much as I loved my parents and my family members, I did better if a teacher at school helped me, a community provider helped me, just because I saw my parents as my parents and I wanted it to be somebody else. And that's okay. That's a typical human adolescent response. It's okay to step back and see how they can handle it. See, well, if they make a mistake, see and work together to problem solve through that situation. And if you need an outside support to help you do that, that's okay too. And lastly, at the end of the day, when we do all of these things, we're helping to facilitate and foster independence in an individual. One of those great things about empowering another individual is helping them to set goals. If young adults are involved in their goal setting and setting long-term and short-term goals, they will be more invested in themselves, more invested in their futures, and more appreciative of you that you let them have those opportunities. I can tell you from a personal perspective, that is one of the greatest gifts my family and my parents gave to me, by letting me make mistakes, letting me set goals, letting me learn how to problem solve. And I'm an individual with multiple disabilities. I have a physical disability as well as a developmental disability. And my parents letting me do that instilled confidence in me, self-value, self-worth. And that is a gift I will always, for the rest of my life as an adult, be thankful for. I always tell people, dream big. When you dream big, it helps you to goal set. When you feel like anything is out there, anything that you could dream of is possible. And it is true. Anything is possible for people with disabilities, just as it is for people without disabilities. We just have to find the right supports, the right accommodations, and the right support system to help us achieve those goals. So I always tell people, take a dream, use action steps, have a target date for when you want to reach a goal. And when you do all that together, everyone can find success, whether you're a person with a disability or not. To help young adults prepare for goal setting and facilitating independence, here are some great steps that can help you. Number one, they need to be an active participant. So you want to make sure that you're asking them, why do you want this goal? How will it help you? What will it help you gain in your life? Number two, are there any challenges that you can see that could be a barrier to you reaching this goal? How can we address that right from the get-go? I always tell people, unless you write down the goal, it's only a dream. When you write it down, you can see it every day and focus on it, and it becomes a part of a vow to yourself that you can accomplish. Then you want to work together to establish an action plan to reach the goal. And lastly, a date with which you want to reach the goal. Even if it takes you longer or shorter in time, by seeing a date, it's giving you something as a young adult to focus toward. Establishing high expectations isn't always easy, but here are some strategies that could help you along the way. Number one, be clear about what your expectations are. Let the young adult know in clear terms, this is what we hope for you, this is what we want for you, and this is what we want to instill in you. Number two, everybody has responsibilities in goal setting and setting expectations. It's important to set out right from the get-go. Here are what you're going to do or your responsibilities in reaching the goal. And here is what we're going to do to assist you. And if that involves outside support from community providers, schools, etc., you want to make sure their expectations and support and responsibilities are clearly established as well. Then you want to write down a plan and have that plan and make sure it's concrete so that everybody can review the success of the plan. Is everybody doing their part to help reach the goal? And is everybody staying on target with the target date? You want to check on progress every couple of weeks. By checking in every 2 to 3 weeks, individuals know there's a timeline, and it helps them to see we want to move forward, we want to keep going, and if there's any trouble spots, you can face those head on and keep going. Lastly, if you're running into any roadblocks, be sure to reach out to other community supports who can give you some input. Being consistent is probably the hardest part of setting high expectations and goal setting. Number one, it's really important to provide honest feedback. If we're not honest with an individual, we can't help them to grow. I always tell people, remember, we want to be constructive. We're constructing goals, we're constructing self-esteem, we're constructing independence. If it's destructive and tearing someone down, they're not wanting to keep going. You want to review your goals every 2 to 3 weeks. You want to discuss their hopes. What is it they want for themselves? What is it they want to accomplish? What is it that is going to help them keep going in setting and accomplishing their goals? You want to look at the results. Did the results turn out the way they were hoping? Did they have to go back and reevaluate and reassess? Or did they need to make some changes or maybe add some additional supports or accommodations? I always remind people, step back and listen and offer ideas. Sometimes people want us to listen more than they want our feedback. And listening is an integral part of young adults with disabilities establishing independence and decision-making and goal setting in their lives. We can't do any of this if we all don't believe that young adults with disabilities can succeed. That means you have to have the mindset that they can make choices and decisions for themselves. We should allow them, they should be an integral part of the transition and IEP planning. And if you need help with that, Able South Carolina can sit down with you and help your young adult develop the skills to do that. The way to look at it is it's their life. They need to be a part of what their life is going to look like in the future. If they're not invested in their future, they're not going to want to fulfill those goals. Teaching them to be assertive and self-advocate, to understand that they can create change in their own lives as well as the community. It's important to dream big, to be willing to learn. Sometimes we don't know all the answers, and understanding that we can learn from others is a really important part about people with disabilities growing and learning. Remember that people with disabilities can have jobs, careers, and families. They could live independently, and they can make incorrect decisions and try again. All of us make mistakes. It's how we get back up and keep trying that matters. When we provide young adults with these tools, we are only helping them to grow and be more independent and take control of their lives. When we do that, we're allowing them to take responsibility and ownership. We're allowing them to have an interest in their future and what their life's going to look like as an adult. And lastly, probably the most important that all of us feel, we're helping individuals to fulfill their dreams. I wanted to share a quote as we're ending the webinar. It is a poem that was written by a young adult with a disability. And the poem was called, "Do You Believe in Me?" I can do anything, be anything, create anything, dream anything, become anything because you believe in me. When we believe in our young adults with disabilities, anything's possible. Dreams are endless, futures are amazing, and everyone can be a part of our community. I want to ask you all to think about this statement. The way we think, the expectations that we have for young adults, and the promotion of their abilities matters. Alan Alda has this quote that has stuck with me for years. He's a famous actor from the TV and movie MASH. He said, begin challenging your own assumptions. Your assumptions are your windows on the world. Scrub them off every once in a while or the light won't come in. When we do that, we can only allow our young adults to grow, become contributing members of our community, and the most important thing, to live their dreams and be happy, prosperous adults. If you would like more information on ABLE South Carolina or how we can assist you and your family, please find us online at www.able-sc.org. We are also on Twitter. We have a Facebook account and we have an Instagram account. We are always happy to help you and your family in any way that we can. If you need more information and want to contact me directly, I am always happy to help and work with you in any way possible. I'm Dory Tempio. My phone number is 803-779-5121, extension 226. My email address is dtempio@able-sc.org. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar, and I hope you have a wonderful year ahead.